Okay, I just got done watching this video by Anthony Cummings about letting go of ninjutsu. And there's two problems wrong with this. Number one, uh, I tend to agree with him because there's a lot of people who aren't practicing ninjutsu. At the same time, I'll proudly wear the term neo ninja here because despite what Anthony said, I disagree that ninjutsu cannot evolve. The manuals, the historical manuals, were written for with the idea of preserving the art. And because the art was dying at a certain point, so everything was put down into these scrolls, into these books, for this information to be passed on to the next generation. It was. But now technology adapted, things adapted. In order to use this information, you have to first essentially apply yourself to bringing, everything out. And here becomes a very interesting thing. I'm going to quote a samurai here in thinking about something by pointing out this. The true science of martial arts means practicing them in a way that they will be useful at any time, and to teach them in a way that they will be useful in all things. The one who said this was Miyamoto Musashi. Now, I'm quoting Musashi for two very, very simple reasons. Number one, because I'm also going to quote him when I say that you need to master one thing to understand all things. Now, I'm saying this because not only does this apply to martial arts, it applies to everything. Okay? Ninjutsu being one of those. It's one thing to say that you practice ninjutsu and to go about practicing martial arts and wearing the black gi and essentially LARPing, which is exactly what Anthony was pointing out. He didn't call it that. I will bluntly call it that. It's LARPing. It's what it is. You're playing up to this media character of what a ninja is. Now the problem is when you get into actual ninjutsu, you get into espionage, stealth training, tracking, survival training, scoutcraft. You get into espionage, which is just known as simply, craft. You get into these things, and strategy, tactics become a big part of it. Now, not only do you get that understanding, because there's two sides to this coin, okay? You have one side, which is Bujitsu, you have the other side, which is Ninjutsu. They both reflect strategy. One is martial arts, or the arts of war, that is done on a battlefield where everyone can see them and understand where the conflicts and the fighting take place. The other stuff is strategic, that is done in a covert or in a clandestine way, which is done invisibly. So let's think of it like this. Ninjutsu has been mistranslated all these years, the art of invisibility or the art of hiding, when in fact it's the art of doing hidden things or the art of doing invisible things. In order for ninjutsu to progress, it has to adapt. Now, for the guys who study the scrolls, they do a very important thing, because what they're talking about is academics. Even when it comes to recreating, trying stuff out, stuff like that, you're talking about specifically academics. The idea of studying the past. By studying the past, you learn things which you can adapt to the future. Now, granted, okay, breaking into a medieval Japanese castle is not plausible. It's not something that anyone's ever really going to do. Breaking into a house, a mansion, getting past actual home alarm systems and stuff like that, that's kind of ninja. Learning how to manipulate other people, learning how not to be manipulated yourself, that's kind of ninja. The problem you come into is that a lot of people want to focus more on the martial arts, which you have to study as a prerequisite to ninjutsu. Remember, the ninja were all samurai. So in the modern context, you do have to study martial arts to get an understanding of the basic fighting techniques of the samurai before you can study ninjutsu. The problem you have with it is that really the ones getting into ninjutsu, except for the historical guys. So in a way, I agree with Anthony on the idea of letting go of ninjutsu. Problem is, nobody's really going to do it. And me, myself, I am a modern practicer. I have a modern system, a Jindai system, uh, which is very, very much built around the idea of espionage and covert and clandestine operations, which is based off the principles of ninjutsu with stuff I mix from the army. Uh, I actually deal with things like night vision goggles and heat sensors and stuff like that. So, it's kind of one of those things where, what about the people like me who are doing this stuff? I realize I've been gone for a while, but here's my point. What about the guys like me who've been doing the stuff that are kind of in that middle ground on the fence, because I'm trying to adapt the traditional stuff from the scrolls into stuff that works for the modern era. And granted, the reality is most ninjutsu schools, most, I'll say all ninjutsu schools, are pretty much BS. Alright, most of us have unproven lineages or are just completely made up or what have you. So I'm taking what I had to work with and I'm mixing it with the scrolls. I'm trying to apply it and create it into something modern, something effective, something that will be useful to me, not just for academic study of the history and the past and stuff like that, which I'm interested in, but something which can be used in the 21st century, that can be used in America, that can be used dealing with the world around me. Now, we all know how screwed up my life is, so we all know that I've used this stuff in the past. I've made videos talking about how I've used it in the past. So the idea, the concepts, the things that are built there's some things that I have to take away, but there's some things which don't get taken away, which are still a big part of the curriculum that we study, or at least that I study, that my students study.